r/AskReddit. Posted by Creative Username 352. Escape room employees of Reddit. What was the weirdest escape tactic you have seen? My family did an escape room, and there was a room with a phone that connected to 3 other rooms. The doors only opened when you dialed the right numbers on the phone, and so my sister just walked up and pressed redial and the last door opened. We have the record of 7.5 minutes to complete the room. Your sister's going places ... like out of the escape room. There was an escape room themed after a school with a madman's lab in it. There was a part where you had to match numbers with the Morse code's letter number in the alphabet. There was of course a dictionary of the Morse code, but a group which finished that part in 15s without using the dictionary. Usually, people need at least 3 minutes for it. And then, after that you had to pump to raise a ball with a key out of a 1.2 meters tube. But instead of simply pumping the thing, a guy took out an extendable stick and silver duct tape, then pulled the ball out of there. They finished the whole room in 30 minutes. My question is, why did he have an extendable stick with silver duct tape in his coat's inner pocket? There was a group of people who was doing a space-themed escape room. In one of the rooms, there was an astronaut suit which was supposed to just serve as a prop. But one of the members thought that it might be needed to solve one of the rooms, so he ended up traversing through the entire escape room while wearing an astronaut suit. And no, it wasn't needed to solve anything. Note, this was posted on another thread similar to this one. Also not an employee, but did a room with 2 friends where we got randomly placed with a family with 3 kids under the age of 12. The youngest was maybe 7. We were like, oh man, we're not going to get any help at all. Kids won't be able to solve anything, and their parents will have to keep track of them. But there was this one part where you had to solve a puzzle that would allow you to move a bookshelf on treads. There was a small gap through which you could see the key, but it was too small to get more than a few fingers through. Unless you're a small 7-year-old boy. He just popped his arm in there and grabbed the key. We bypassed a good 5 minutes of the room that way. Also, the kids ended up being delightful and pretty good at finding stuff. I'd love to do another room with them. My family and I did an escape room that paired us up with a lot of other people. The other people were all older than us, late 20s and up, and I'm sure that they thought my siblings and I wouldn't contribute. We ended up solving the entire escape room basically by ourselves. The final challenge was to create a pyramid out of certain blocks, but we decided to give the others a chance to solve it, since we basically did everything. The others weren't able to and the time ran out SMH. For my friend's Bucks night we did an escape room as part of the night's festivities before the drinking started, and we ended up in a room where you needed to find the key to get past a door. Then in that door there was a bookshelf that opened up like a secret passageway, then past that a wall open, up. One of our group got a bit turned around and didn't notice that the wall that opened up swung back into the original room to create a new little subdivision, which was to project a code onto the wall near the exit. Saw the exit door and strolled out thinking he'd just finished it. A friend of mine runs an escape room and told me this story. A group was in a room that just so happened to have a drop ceiling. You know, the ones with the tiles you can lift up on and I guess go inside if you need to. Well, that's what this group decided to do. The employee kept hearing weird thumps and bumps, so he went in to check on everything and found 2 people up inside the ceiling. There was nothing in the ceiling. I've done that room and there is no indication that you should go into the ceiling. Why would they think that was an okay thing to do? The escape room company has now added don't go in the ceiling to their pre-game rules. Safety spiel. I was in an escape room once, and the people with me wanted to look behind a plug socket to see if there was a hint. I told them that the reason there is a plug socket there is that we need whatever it was that was plugged in there. But the concept that everything in this room is part of the game and can therefore be used and or destroyed, it is something I don't get. There still is stuff that is only needed because You know, we are still on planet Earth in reality. At this point, the rules at the place where I work cover most of the things that would be room ruining. Our electrical outlets are real. Don't put things in them. There is nothing in the drop ceiling. Don't punch through the walls or any windows or tear up the carpeting. One of the rooms has fake stained glass windows, and when it first opened, before I worked there, someone punched through. So now we have a very specific "see those? Don't punch them" rule for people who go into that room. Apparently, someone popped on the floor of a room, again, before I worked there, though not specifically to get out. And we keep our doors unlocked so you can just go use the restroom. Honestly, the weird stuff I see usually has less to do with actually solving the puzzles and more to do with human interaction. My favorite was the guy who I ran through a room super quick, no clues, just him and a woman. The whole time he was saying to the woman, "OMG, wow, that surprised me. Oh, you are so clever for solving that. I never would have thought of that." Buttering her up, etc. They finish, they leave, and my manager tells me she ran the guy through the same room the previous weekend with a different lady. What a dating tactic. I worked at an escape room for about a year, but one group managed to always stay in my mind. I was a group of 4 women, maybe in their 50s, drunk out of their mind. They started off the room quite well with a pace that would allow them to escape, but then they encountered what we considered to be the easiest puzzle in the room. Basically, they get a long magnet and use it to pull a key out of a locked window. However, they for some god unknown reason could not figure this out. After a bit of trying, they asked for a clue. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it was something along the lines of, "Remember that magnet stick you guys got? Some might call it the key to success." Simultaneously they all sigh, which is a common reaction when people realize that an answer to a puzzle was so simple. But no, they didn't understand the clue. Instead they shoved books into the window in hopes of getting the key, which is something we specifically tell them not to do. Had to end up pulling them from the room as they started ripping apart the books. TLDR, listen to your operator. Not an employee, but something I did once in an escape room. It was a brand new escape room business, so the cameras hadn't been installed in the rooms yet. The game master told us to knock on the wall if we needed anything because they couldn't see or hear what was going on while we were playing. My wife and I were the only 2 people doing the escape room. The theme was ancient Egypt, and we got to a room that had a large sarcophagus that could open and had what looked like pistons attached to the bed of the sarcophagus. In the corner was a large mummy, and I became convinced that the sarcophagus was a pressure plate that needed the mummy. My wife and I put the mummy into the sarcophagus and nothing happened. We were confused, but continued on. Flash forward to us winning the game and talking with the game master. Me, by the way, why did we have to put the mummy in the sarcophagus? It didn't do anything. Game master, huh? Me. We put the mummy in the corner in the large sarcophagus, but it didn't do anything in the room. Our game master busted out laughing and said she had never seen someone try doing that. We all had a good laugh. To this day, if we are stumped in an escape room, my wife suggests I put the mummy in the sarcophagus. I have tons of stories about destructive players, so instead, how about a weird and actually intelligent method? After my brief and video, the players started to run around the room all talking out loud, not necessarily talking to Yakutha. I thought that there was no way they were going to escape with how disorganized they were. Boy, was I wrong. One of the group members shouts "Pumpernickel" and everyone else shut up immediately. They continued to play like this through the rest of the game. Whenever one of them had either found something interesting or figured out an answer, they would shout "Pumpernickel" and immediately everyone else would give them their full attention. They got out in 30 minutes and 0 clues, in a room with a 20% success rate, and average time to complete is 45-50 minutes. One of the better groups that I've managed, seen. I worked one where a roulette table was one of the answers. Now we didn't want to rig a roulette wheel, so we gave the lock multiple answers. Now this family comes through and plays it and gets double zeros, and they assume it's rigged to land on double zeros. Pretty common assumption. They spin it again. Lands on double zeros again. I worked there for about a year and I don't think I'll ever see something like that again. The family didn't make it out of the room, but they were extremely close. Late to the post, but hope you all get a chuckle out of it. We had a bachelor party come through, quite drunk. We're having a good time, taking their pictures and generally just chatting as everyone gets ready. They start the room, and immediately start finishing all of our puzzles in record time. Turns out one is a welder, another is an electrical engineer, one's the owner of a home contracting company. Each one was calling out every part of the room that was fake. I've seen this electronic lock before. It needs a 4-digit code, or yeah, that's a fake weld. This pipe does something, etc. It was hilarious because they're drunk but just absolutely blasting through our room. They still hold the all-time record, which no other team has even come close to. Great guys. I've built 2 escape rooms which we ran at conferences, events, guaranteed occurrences. Someone rips something apart due to overenthusiasm. Someone rips something apart because they came in drunk. The meekest, quietest person in the group figures a puzzle out 20 minutes before everyone else, and nobody is listening to them. The smartest people never figure anything out. Hot tip: if you're gonna be in an escape room, pretend you're dumb as shit. We never require you know advanced chemistry or have an IT background. All the pieces are in the room. If your first few guesses on a puzzle aren't it, don't sit there beating your brain on it, hand it to fresh eyes. Someone immediately does the opposite of what the warning label says. If it's shaped like a laser pointer and has a giant do not point at eyes, guess where it's immediately going. Since we show at conferences and take over other spaces, we don't have 100% control of the space. We will hang black curtains over things, or put a label on something that says not part of the puzzle, and people still, with almost every run-through, find something new. Like there was a label on an AC vent high on the ceiling, and some of your body spent half an hour going, what does it mean? Someone figures a puzzle out that spells out a clue, notices the clue, then disassembles IT and forgets IT. This behavior I do not understand. We had one puzzle where people had to connect strings to points on a grid, and when all the strings were up it spelled a 3-letter word. Groups would do this, notice the word, comment on it, then take all the strings off the wall. Then 10 minutes later be going, this lock needs 3 letters to open it, and I'm screaming from the security camera room. I built a puzzle that has a 30-second timer. If you don't solve the whole thing in that time frame, it resets. Once you know what to do, it's just button pushing. It's easy, but Swiss cheese having a short time limit stresses some people out like crazy. Like screaming, IT's gonna reset, IT's gonna reset, OF at their teammates. Not at an employee, but when I did an escape room with my girlfriend, at some point we found a student attendance sheet with 5 rows that each had one student's name on it. My idea was to take the first letter of each row, which happened to spell out the word futon. English not being my first language, I only had a vague understanding of what a futon was, so we ended up wasting around 15 minutes messing around with this little bench that was placed in the room for decoration. We were trying to find secret compartments, moving it to certain parts of the room hoping to trigger some hidden mechanism in the floor, checking the wall the bench was placed against, etc. After about 15 minutes the operator comes in to tell us we might want to look at the initials of each name, rather than just the first letter of each row. Turns out when you do that, it spells Fortwoon, or 421. The code to the next lock we had to open. The worst part is that after figuring out what the initials formed, I went, what the hell is Fortwoon? Still took me a good minute or two to figure that one out. In a clown-themed escape room with my friends, we found a coin which we found out was used later on in the room. There was a hole in the floor with a note that said, do not put the coin in this hole. We thought it was a trick or something, so we put the coin in there. only for nothing to happen and we couldn't get the coin out.